With 3 games under their belt, Naughty Dog seemed pretty proud with what they did with Crash. After 3 platformers in a row, Naughty Dog wanted to do a racing game. Initially, the game was made with nondescript, block-headed characters as drivers, but when they showed the game pitch to Sony, Naughty Dog showed interest in making the game a Crash Bandicoot title, which Sony agreed was also a good idea. Sony made a deal with Universal, and the game was converted into a fully Crash-themed kart racing game as Naughty Dog's grand send-off to the series. And so the game was released on September 30th, 1999 for PlayStation. It was received very positively by critics, but was absolutely lauded by fans. It is very often considered part of the upper echelon of kart racing games, up there with the likes of Mario Kart, and to some people it's even better than Mario Kart. But is that praise truly justified? Is Crash Team Racing truly one of the best kart racers? Let's go to the starting line and find out ourselves. Oh, and before we start, this is the last time I swear, this review will not be based off Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. While yes, Nitro Fueled was basically a CTR follow-up to the Insane trilogy and still sorta counts as a remake, the game is A, also a remake of Crash Nitro Kart, and B, added new content, new features, characters that flat out didn't exist yet when original CTR released, and even brand new characters, so there's a bit more to it than the Insane trilogy, which was solely a remake of the first 3, that I don't consider it a straight remake of CTR or even CNK, and more so consider it kind of its own thing entirely. As such, I have chosen to give it its own video towards the end of the retrospective alongside separate reviews of both CTR and CNK by themselves. Hopefully you can understand where I'm going with this. This feels like the best way to do it to me. But enough preamble, let's race. Unlike most other kart racing games, Crash Team Racing actually has a narrative. Our antagonist this time is Nitrous Oxide, an alien hailing from the planet Gasmoxia and self-proclaimed fastest racer in the galaxy. After conquering multiple planets beforehand, Oxide now has his sights set on planet Earth, challenging its inhabitants to a series of races, threatening to turn the planet into a concrete parking lot, no, really, if they don't comply. So, the character of your choice goes on a racing adventure to stop Nitrous Oxide from completing its evil plot. Yeah, it's pretty stupid, but considering this is a small spin-off and the Crash universe is kind of nonsensical as is, I like the game fully embraces the series' style of stupidity. The fact that the big bad's goal is to turn Earth into a parking lot of all things is just inherently funny to me. The game looks pretty similar to the prior 2 PlayStation 1 games. Holding its own compared to some other games from around the time, Crash Team Racing's environments are impressively detailed, boasting some nice visual effects and detailed textures for the time and hardware. This is all playing at breakneck speed, but the frame rate rarely, if ever, noticeably dropped during any of my gameplay sessions. The environments are very aesthetically pleasing, looking very vibrant and colorful and feeling exactly like what we've come to expect from the series in terms of aesthetics. One thing we lost in this game is the expressive character animations that made the previous 3 games stick out among other PlayStation titles. Characters are rather static during gameplay, which makes sense because there's up to 8 player CPU characters that can be on screen at one time, but it's still a bit of a shame that this had to be dropped. We do at least get to see them in their full glory one last time on the end of race podium, so it's nice that they still managed to put them in the game somewhere. The music is also pretty good. The same general feel of the prior game's soundtrack is here, but at a much faster pace and tempo, fitting the game's own faster pace like a glove. The songs are memorable, energetic, and catchy with the same trademark Crash instruments and sounds we all know and love. It's a pretty good soundtrack. The sound effects aren't too bad either. Most sound effects are shared from the PS1 game, so nothing much else to say there, and the characters have some more vocalization and catchphrases than the PS1 games, which is appreciated, but you might hear a few of these rather often. Like, I know, Cortex, the trophy's yours, I caught on to that the first time, I'll know by the 70th. One thing that kinda screws the audio up is the default audio mix. By default, the sound effects are way louder than the music, so it drowns out to the point where the music is only barely audible. You can change it all yourself, which can alleviate the issue, but the default audio mix should be more balanced, so it's still an issue, just one you can fix yourself. Aside from a few flaws, the game's presentation is overall pretty good. I love myself a good kart racing game, so let's see if this is a good kart racing game. Crash Team Racing plays somewhat similarly to other games in the genre. You choose your favorite Crash Bandicoot character, unless your favorite character is Brie or Komodo Joe, and attempt to win against 7 other opponents on one of a variety of wacky racetracks. By breaking crates dotted around the track, your item roulette will spin. Once it stops, the item it stopped on will be given to you in your item slot. You can use it by pressing the circle button. The items include the tracking missile, which targets another racer in front of you, beakers, which serve as a basic drop-behind item, TNT crates stick on a player's head and must be shaken off before it detonates, and a few more. You can use these items to slow down other racers to help you win easier. By breaking the Wumpa crates, you'll collect a couple of Wumpa fruit. By obtaining 10 of them, your cart will become juiced up. While in your juiced state, your cart's top speed will increase and items you pick up will be transformed into stronger variants. Beakers become red beakers, which slow down foes for longer. The formerly time-limited protective shield lasts forever. The TNT crates get turned into nitro crates, which, as expected, cannot be shaken off and instead detonate immediately upon coming into contact with a racer. So on and so forth. But the real key to glory in Crash Team Racing is not the items, even though they are helpful. If you want to win against any remotely skilled player, you need to get to grips with the game's boost system. By pressing the L1 or R1 button, your cart will begin to drift. Aside from being generally useful for nailing sharp turns, there's another essential function to drifting. By pressing the shoulder button opposite to the one you're using to drift, you will activate a short turbo boost, and you can use up to 3 per drift. Don't think you can just mindlessly hammer away at the button though. There is timing involved and a bit of a rhythm to it as well. During a drift, a small bar will start to fill at the bottom right corner of the screen. The bar will turn red and the exhaust coming out of your cart will turn black at the earliest point you can set off a boost. Press the button too early and the boost will fail, and you must let go of and restart your drift to try again. You also can't be too careful with your timing, as the boost will also fail that way. Generally, to get the most out of your boost, you want to time your press just before the bar fills up completely. But you'll still get decent speed if you go purely by the moment your bar turns red. But that's not all. The real ticket to that gorgeous golden trophy is to take advantage of boost pads and reserves. Boost pads are exactly what you'd expect them to be. Drive over them to go vroom more. The boosts you get from them are bigger than the boosts you get from drifts, which is where reserves come in. By drift boosting while you hit that boost pad, you'll gain some reserves. They will immediately begin to deplete, but while they're depleting, that boost will remain active until they're gone. So while relying on drift boosts alone is not a terrible strategy, keeping a drift boost going and adding reserves into the mix with boost pads to maintain that boost pad boost for as long as you can is the absolute best strategy. There are a few more advanced techniques, but I encourage you to go find out more about those mechanics by yourself if you're interested in such knowledge. Partially because explaining them all will make this video feature length, which is not desirable. With these mechanics and more, the game has an easy to pick up, hard to master quality to it. Anyone who knows me knows that I love games with this hook. Learning the ins and outs of such games can be crazy hard, but it's oh so satisfying to get to grips with it and make you feel like a total boss. It's got an addicting quality to it, and Crash Team Racing is no exception. I was hooked to this for weeks, trying to get better, and I think I've become pretty alright at it. At high level play, the game is at a crazy fast pace, and boy does it feel good to go this fast. What helps with this is the tight handling, giving you a large degree of control over your vehicle. Nailing shortcuts feels great, and just helps the game feel as smooth as it does. The game features a total of 18 racetracks, and for the most part, they're very well designed with clear layouts and tricky but awesome shortcuts, resulting in racetracks that are fun and memorable. The exceptions are Dragon Mines and Turbo Track. The former shortcuts can be outright annoying to attempt, and the design generally leaves little room for error, and the latter is fine enough until this part with multiple jarringly sharp turns one after another that are extremely hard to go through without slowing down. Aside from these two exceptions, the lineup is generally solid. The adventure mode is decent for single-player content. You go through every track except for 2, so it's a good way to get yourself accustomed to the track design, but I'm not a fan of the boss races. On paper, great idea. A one-on-one race against some of Crash's toughest adversaries to get a key to move on to the next world. However, the bosses all spam items, a frustrating strategy that ruins a good concept. Aside from the main adventure mode path, you can participate in a handful of optional side missions for extra rewards. Relic races take after the time trials introduced in Warped. You aim to get the best time you can to go for various relic types. Sapphire is the lowest, then Gold, then Lunatics can go for Platinum relics. A fun, Crash-themed twist on a standard time trial mode. That still exists though, and works as you'd expect, and you can save your best run as a Ghost Racer to have your visual representation of the record. The CTR tokens can be obtained in the adventure mode and come in 2 varieties. Purple CTR tokens can be collected by taking on a challenge where you must collect all of the crystals in an arena before time runs out. The rest of the CTR tokens can be collected by completing a mission where you must locate and collect the letters C, T, and R on the track and finish the race in first. By collecting all of the CTR tokens, you can take on the Gem Cups. These Grand Prix Cups award gems that unlock the boss races you beat in Adventure Mode. There are a lot of different challenges that can keep a completionist player occupied for quite a long time. This game has more content than I expected to find in it going in. As a whole, Crash Team Racing's gameplay is fast, frantic, addicting, and tons of fun, even if there's a bit of a learning curve to get past. In conclusion, Crash Team Racing is an adrenaline-pumpingly fast kart racing game that's crazy fast and very fun. Its style of gameplay is highly skill-based and competitive, with an easy-to-play, hard-to-master gameplay hook that I adore. It may have poorly designed boss battles and a few bad tracks, and the learning curve isn't huge, but it's there, so it's not for everyone. But the whole package is a highly addictive, fast-paced racing game with more content than I expected going in, with solid mechanics and smooth controls that make me happy to say that this is one of my favorite racing games of all time. That's why I'm giving Crash Team Racing a 9 out of 10 and a Silver Award. A great way to end Naughty Dog's legacy for this series. So that was my review of Crash Team Racing. This game's great, I love it, and you should play it too, because it's real good. I was sure as heck not expecting the script to be 8 pages long, but I'd say I went more in depth in here than my prior 3 reviews. Next time on the Crash Bandicoot Retrospective Review Marathon Doohickey, we'll throw a party in Crash's final game for the original PlayStation, as we dive into the 2000 release, Crash Bash. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and commenting with whatever your heart, soul, and or brain thought about this video. And consider subscribing to get the latest video shout out on the rooftops to you specifically. But until then, this has been blueblur98, signing off. I've sent you an invitation to our little Bandicoot party. Hopefully you can RSVP.